Hi, and welcome to my day in very sunny Central Texas. It looks like a cloudless day today. I have not seen a cloud anywhere I have looked, and up and that way and up and straight here. That might just be washed out contrail. It's kind of straight. Nothing over there either. No clouds. But it's doggy time, and it's hot and it's humid. I'm reading another one of Mr. Flanagan's books. I lost one thing I was marking my page with, but that was just the cut off top of a package of something. Now I've got something else in there. And it occurred to me, I need to eat something. And then the cat reminded me that he wanted to eat something too. He still won't take anything raw. I keep trying. The dog at least will taste things, usually. But he doesn't want a meal of raw. So I may have to get a book or something about converting a dog over to a raw diet. And they both carry a little more weight than they should, just like I do. I pretty much decided I'm staying with the carnivore diet again for now. And sometimes people just make a difference so slowly that they feel like it's not going anywhere. Hey, puppy dog, come over here and say hi. Come here. Here's my boy. You're such a sweet boy. There he is, star of the show, the Dyson. Yeah. Yes, it is the name of a vacuum cleaner. Most people can figure that out. The father-in-law used to make jokes about naming dogs Hoover and Eureka, but he never really did. So naming this one after a vacuum cleaner is kind of one more way to honor his memory. Puppy dog are going to teach you to look into the camera eventually. Yeah. The internet likes little dogs. You need to look right here. I don't think he believes me. I should put some of his favorite stuff on a wish list and post it. Then he'd see that the internet likes little dogs. I know the internet likes cats too. Bill's cat Daisy keeps getting so many packages. Of course, with a cat, there's the added benefit of anything Bill receives, whether it's sent as a gift or not, there's usually going to be a box. And cats love boxes. But this guy did his doggy time maneuvers, so I think we're going to go in and cook some bacon and eggs. I want some bacon. I'm eating less bacon now than I used to, but I still want it. And I still turn the package over and over looking for the ingredients and make sure it's not as full of sugar as some brands do. My gosh, trying to find ham that's not all sugared is a bit of a headache too. What do you think, puppy? Bacon and eggs? Yeah, bacon and eggs. That's my elbow. Okay. So this will be short. Oh. Unless he wants to go down again, and he might. There's a little bit of a breeze. I hope it blows some of the humidity away. Humidity can be a killer. But it's a combination. People go, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. Well, duh. But you know what? Without the heat, the humidity wouldn't be that bad. And I've lived in some dry places. Eastern Wyoming, central South Australia, and West Texas. You can get all kinds of heat, but you're more comfortable without the humidity. But I'm still a big fan of air conditioning, which dries out the air somewhat. But in West Texas, where there's so dry conditions that an air conditioner unit is really not the most efficient way to go, evaporative cooling is the way to go. But you've still got to have a pretty steady water supply for that, because the evap cooler circulates water up to trickle it down the pads. The pads hold the water and the air blasts through it, blowing the humidity into your home. And as that evaporates off of you or out of the air stuff, it changes the conditions indoors so that it's cooler. And it's a lot cheaper to run, but it's just not as effective in a humid environment. It's great in West Texas. What, buddy? You still sitting here? You're not acting like you're hot. If you were acting thirsty, you would be headed around the other side of the house. He would head around the other side of the house because the charity water bowl is on the back deck. And some days there's water in it, and some days I remember to fill it up. But it's still there because stray cats and things passing by, and maybe a neighbor's chicken on the north side, you know, they need water too. And things that are out might not have a source of water on a day like today, when it's not raining and there's not a cloud in sight. And even that faded contrail up there is fading out even more. I'm gonna guess there's not even a lot of high wind up high, because it has spread out, but not so much. I mean, I've seen them spread more than that. That's one way to tell the conditions up higher. It's not just the type of clouds that form, the shapes, but also how spread they are from one edge to the other, or the contrail of a plane that's coming in to land at the nearest big airport. At altitudes where there is more wind, it spreads more, but it stays straight. And you will see places where contrail will be a skinny little line, no wind, and then all of a sudden they've changed altitude and the air is moving more, lots of spread. Sometimes to the point it'll be wiped out. So as they're getting closer to or further from major airports, you know, as they go, they're changing altitudes all the way up to where they're getting to, and then they're changing altitudes coming back down to land. Or if they're flying over the Rockies, they'll change altitudes to avoid places where there's horrendous wind shear over a peak, or maybe calmer conditions over a pass, and they want those calmer conditions. No, I'm not a pilot, but I used to hang out with search pilots, and my dad was a pilot at that time. Sometimes I make comments. I can't call it a joke because I really was taught at about age 12 how to make coffee by search pilots. Nobody ever should let search pilots teach 12-year-old to make coffee. They liked it, which means this was not fit for human consumption. If it doesn't eat the spoon, it's not ready. Should be able to stand that spoon straight up and then watch the handle disappear. Those are jokes. But, yeah, I drank really horrendous coffee for a long time when I was a kid. Or, not a kid, but younger. I didn't drink coffee when they taught me to make coffee. They just wanted somebody besides them making coffee so that there was always coffee. Because search pilots, I think I've mentioned before, are shooting for as little time on the ground as possible. Now, the pilot is typically the lead guy in a search craft. And there will be somebody who's qualified to pilot the craft in case they have eaten something bad and feel sick or have issues. So when the search craft comes down for debrief before the next sortie, and this is stuff you wouldn't know unless you've been around searchers, but the co-pilot will take it for refueling, check things that need checked, etc. The spotters will go in for debrief, and the pilot will go in for debrief and next assignment. The way you figure assignments is by grids. Now, you'll have a starting point by which any map can be gridded, and it'll go so many seconds of latitude and longitude. You mark that starting point accurately. It's got to be 100% accurate or the rest of the grid work falls apart. But if you find that starting point correctly, put your ruler down, line up, use the north and east and all that on the edges of the map. Make sure you're lined up. And you put that first line in correctly. And then you put in lines, and they are latitudinal lines and longitudinal lines. And you divide the map into little, it looks rectangular usually because there's always a little distortion. But you divide the map, and then you go so many seconds of latitude and longitude, not even whole degrees. you look that up, you might find out more than you want to know about mapping. But divide these maps into these little strips and columns, and then everybody who's doing search in that same state has exactly the same markings on their gridded maps. And don't ever loan out your gridded maps unless someone's giving you their ungridded map, because they will fold it wrong and they will spill coffee on it. You may just never see it again. And I'm a stickler for folding my map exactly as it arrived when it was brand new. And then people will grab it and just clunk it any which way they wish. Although it won't fit in the pilot's knee board the same way ever again because it's not on the original creases. But anyway, you've got all these searchers and pilots with these grids, and ground teams with these same little grids marked on their map. And they're numbered. And essentially the person controlling the search, sometimes that was my dad, sometimes that was other qualified persons, would assign grids to flight teams and to ground teams. And you had to have a map so you could get to where you're going and make sure you were in the right place. What, puppy? Anyway, your team gets the right place and you start looking. Now, if you're looking for a downed aircraft, you're looking for a crash scar. A plane plowing into trees will take the tops off of smaller trees, knock medium trees right over, and knock branches off of big trees. Or they'll stir up dirt and grass and leave a big raw mark on the ground like plowing. And if they're lucky, there's someone alive, they might have the sense to use some of the stirred up grass, sod, broken branches, etc., and any dripping bit of fuel that might be left in the vehicle, in the aircraft that crashed, and get a fire going and send up a smoke column. There's always that hope. We always hope. And if you're ever in a crash and survive it, keep that in mind. That tiny bit of fuel can send up a smoke column that might get caught on satellite imagery, because we can do so much with satellites now. But, yeah, a missing vehicle that's on the ground. Snowmobilers are a big one because they go out and have fun and they don't really always keep track of where they are. And cars driving up into the mountains so kids can play in the last bit of snow because the summer heat is coming. That feels so good, I'll tell you. July and August, you wouldn't think there'd be any snow left on the ground, but when you're in the northern Rockies, there is. And there's often paved roads getting you all the way up there. But if you hit a moose or an elk and go off the road, it might be hard to spot you. The general advice is to stay with the vehicle because it is some kind of shelter. It's much harder than a tent. Of course, if somebody in your group is hurt, it might not be advisable to move them, or it might be a desperate situation. You might have to move them. But a vehicle is also resources. If you pull seat belts out as far as you can and cut them, you've got these really strong straps. Oh, that last bit of, I should be pulling up me at this leg here a little bit. The last little bits of eczema on my ankle and that tiny bit on my knee are fading. But yeah, if you hit a moose and go off the road, for one thing, I hope the moose ain't mad at you, because they are dangerous. Elk are dangerous too. People don't realize how much some of these critters get involved in the seasonal round of tourist tossing that the bison in Yellowstone are so famous for. And even domesticated cattle will get involved in that. Because most of them aren't that tame, even if they are domesticated. So stay away from them. Don't try to set your 4 or 5-year-old kid on top of a bison at the park, thinking it's a park animal, it must be safe. Nah, they're not. And don't put your 3-year-old on top of the neighbor's cow for a photo, unless the neighbor is there with a lead rope controlling the cow. And even at that, you might need to tie that lead rope to a tractor or something so the cow can't move very far. Now, placid old Bessie, who's 15, might take it a whole lot better than some heifer that's barely a year old. But that's just critters. What, puppy? You look like you're grinning about something. He's smelling the breeze. There is a tiny little ground level breeze that's not even stirring the tops of the trees. Okay, there's a little bit of panting happening over there and I'm sweating. So I think it's time to go in and start making the bacon and the eggs. I'm not exactly hungry, but I have been thinking about food since I got up. By the time it's made, I will be hungry. And what do we learn from the excellent Pim? Don't be so hungry that cravings take over what you eat and when you eat. And then when you get past the cravings, you're in control. Now, I'm not really having cravings, but the occasional thought of a cookie, like, oh, 1 or 2 won't hurt that bad. Yeah, it will. I have arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis hurts. I wake up every morning and start twisting my wrist and doing this bit to work out. I got some knuckles that get really stiff. And today I have some Coach tape on my toes. Let's see if I can get this on camera. There is no reason for my second toe to be in pain. I have not dropped anything on it. I have not kicked anything. I did not foolishly do any blocks with my foot. Now my wrist is aching a little bit, but we were doing a fan forming in class yesterday morning, and Sean was trying to demonstrate something. I think it was Sean. Yeah, it was Sean. It wasn't Brad. And my fan, now it's made of steel with a poly silk on it. Nice picture of a dragon. I like it. But I turned my arm and the block, and that kind of impacted my wrist a little bit. It's been a little bit achy. But to be fair, it was a little bit achy before that because I had tortillas last Wednesday, and that puts grains in my system. And grains tend to carry glyphosate, which takes a long time to get past all the insults of the body. So I've got the second toe taped to the third one, and that's helping that discomfort. But there's not really much helping my wrist. Every now and then, Dyson acts like he's going to go back down the steps, but he doesn't. So I think I'm going to go in and keep him in until he drinks a little water. Dogs are a little more thirst-driven than cats are. I just gave a cat his food. But it was also time to talk to my people. Other carnivores, beginners or otherwise. I come under otherwise, but I'm not one of the long-term carnivores. I haven't quite made it to 3 years yet. That'll be impressive when I do. Breeze. I like the breeze. I know I don't look like I'm sitting in a breeze, but I'll take it. The air is moving, and it has a comforting feel. But I'm still going to take this guy in. And remember, do the things that are good for you. Gentle exercise that doesn't hurt as much as the things I do. And when I can walk straight, I will be doing more walking. After the tortillas last Wednesday, I started having more trouble with my legs. I had started walking straighter, but then I started having trouble again. And I found enough information that I'm going to give the methylene blue a try. And if I can find the conversation I was watching that was happening between a handful of medical people, and one of these fellows had worked the ICU for a while, a long time ago, and he was talking about what they did for people, and that included, we need to get them out of the ICU, we need to improve their condition enough that they're stable enough that they go to a regular room and just have monitoring equipment instead of having monitoring equipment and somebody walking by their bed every 5 minutes. Then I took what he said very seriously, because if that's the point at which you give someone methylene blue and you get just that little more stability, that little improvement, to start the ball rolling in the right direction, and now apparently it's helping the folks with the long haul version of the Voldemort virus, and it's helping people with mitochondrial problems and low energy. And it's helping people who have had strokes. Well, dang it all, 3 of those things seem to apply to me, and I only named off 3 things. So I placed an order yesterday, and it'll be here soon, because Amazon likes to show off how fast they can get things to people. Okay, puppy dog. Ground is getting hot, isn't it? Or are you just looking for that wasp that was flying around? Sometimes he sniffs at the bottom step, trying to sort out if there's been a cat diving underneath the steps. There's a nice clear spot down there. Go potty if you're gonna, because we're gonna go back in the house. Anyway, I'm practicing a lot of transparency. I fessed up about the tortillas I ate that I really shouldn't have eaten, but they were kind of good. And it's a couple times a year treat. It's not all the time. And that's making excuses, and I know it. But I also, I mentioned I was trying the carnitine, knowing that it could cause me a problem. And yes, I have told Loki that I'm going to try this product. I have not really found anything that makes it a contraindicated item for me. And that's kind of important, because I don't want to have to spend 4 to 6 weeks letting the Sorrel products wash out of my system, and any other products that I might feel like using on a given day, just so that I can try this. And I'm just going to throw it in with everything else. Come on, puppy, let's go in. But do the things that are good for you. Get some exercise. Eat something that's healthy. Be a decent human being. Compliment somebody if you have the opportunity. Yep, it's time to go in. Whoa, I hear small craft. Single engine, conventional tail, low wing. Retractable gear. They're not usually so low that I can tell if they have retractable gear. On low-wing aircraft, those are the gear that fold up into the belly of the craft. But, yeah, I got stuff to do. Bacon and eggs for the win. Y'all be good and be healthy. Grandma Lotion wants you to be safe. Bye-bye.